It's time for GrizzBeat, a full-court press of highlights, insights, news, and scoops covering the Grizzlies and the NBA. Catch up each week on the latest Grizz buzz with regional and national insiders locked in on our squad. Running point from Grind City Media Studios, our host, Jarvis Greer.
Hey everybody, it's 2 o'clock on Wednesday. That means it is time for GrizzBeat, coming to you live from 191 Beale Street, right across from FedEx Forum. I look out the windows and there it is. We're in the Grind City Media Studios here downtown. And we've got, as always, a great and illustrious panel for you out there. We'll start on my left. We have DeMichael Cole, DC, from the Commercial Appeal. He is the Grizzlies beat writer, and your hands have been furiously typing and looking up and down to see what the latest is, right?
Yeah. This is a constant movement these days. I don't go to sleep with my ringer off like I usually do for the next few days. So, yeah, fun times.
Fun times indeed. And also joining us in the studio, hadn't been in here in a while, but he's here right now. Mike Sadie from News Channel 3, just across the way over here downtown. Mike, welcome to the studio again. Glad to have you in here. And as always in TV this time of year with so many things going on, you don't get any sleep either.
No, I don't. And, my dogs have a little bit to do with that. But, yeah, it's fun. It's fun times, especially if you just go back 1 year to Michael and Jarvis, we already knew how the Grizzlies were going to play out. So, it was just taking a look at the trade deadline. There wasn't much excitement after that. This team now, look out. I mean, the sky's the limit. If things go the right way, they're already one of the elite teams in the NBA. And then you throw in, the Tigers are at FedEx Forum tonight, and what it means for them. Penny's highest seed ever as a coach going in. So, yeah, it's a tough time, but a great time. Hoop City should be excited about its two teams right now.
Yeah, looking for another double. We've had doubles the last two times the Grizzlies and Tigers have played on the same date. That could happen again. And joining us from, Canada, I can't sing, but from way up north in the Great White North, we've got the great one himself, Michael Wallace. He is in Toronto, Canada for the game tonight against Toronto. And tell you what, Michael Wallace, how cold is it up there, first of all?
It's about 20 degrees. You know what I mean? It's manageable. You know what I'm saying? I didn't feel too bad when I got outside a little bit earlier, but we talk about the heat right now, and the heat is the February trade deadline is 24 hours away as of right now. It's the 24-hour countdown to the NBA trade deadline, and it's a lot going on. We got a great show, man, and who knows? One thing I can assure us. All four of us will still be on the squad by the time this show is over. I can't say anything more for that.
Well, I don't know. I'm had trouble getting in today. I forgot my pass. Well, actually, I had to take my wife's car to the shop. All my stuff is in my car. I said, I don't have my Grizz pass. How am I going to get in? Well, fortunately, I'm still on the list for the Tigers because I do some stuff with them. They got a big game
Something
tonight.
Tells me Jarvis Greer doesn't have much trouble getting in most places in Memphis.
Well, sometimes you got to be like that. It just has to be that way. But let's talk about, the Grizz are on a heater themselves. 9 out of their last 10 in the W column for the Memphis Grizzlies. And that really says something about the way that, a lot of people, there were prognosticators at the beginning say, they'll make the play-in maybe or this and that and this. If you look at it, what they had, they still have when they won 50 games and 52 games and 55 a couple of years ago. They just had the one bad season because of all the injuries. So, Michael, how do you see them, the pundits, making excuses for what they said Memphis would do before and then what they're doing right now?
Yeah, speaking of those pundits, if you go back to the beginning of the season, some of the main questions centered around this Grizzlies team was, one, can the offense be better? And two, can they play well? This was arguably my biggest question. Can they play well without Ja Morant? Because, not just when he misses games, but when he's off the floor. And he's missed 21 games this season, and in those 21 games, the Grizzlies have a 14-7 record. That wasn't the case last season. But if you go back to the 2 seasons before that, the 2 years where they were the number 2 seeds in the Western Conference, the 2 years where the expectations were a little high around here, kind of what it's starting to feel like right now, they were able to win without Ja Morant in those games. And it's not as simple as winning without Ja Morant. It's being this collaborative, team that's learning how to, where you have multiple guys elevating their roles. It's not, when Ja Morant's out of the game, it's not just Desmond Bane turning into, the guy whose usage rating just goes through the roof. One game it's Desmond Bane with 14 assists. The next game it's Luke Kennard with 8 assists.
Right.
The next game it was Scottie Pippen Jr. with 10 assists. So it's different guys, and you built this depth, which now kind of leads you to the point, it's not just when Ja's out, because the last game Ja played and Dez was out, then you have G.G. Jackson give you 27 points. So in this stretch, this last month, I would say, where the schedule is kind of ticked up from a competition standpoint, you've seen the Grizzlies kind of elevate their play as more guys have kind of been elevated into different roles and bigger roles.
And Mike Sadie from News Channel 3, one thing about it, the constant that has been there no matter what, even in the bad year, defense has been there. Even though, the scores are kind of high because the Grizzlies play a lot faster, so there's many more possessions, but they've still been one of the top defensive teams in the association.
And who's in the middle of that is the one guy, Jaren Jackson Jr. And look, we all knew that he was elite, but we never knew exactly when he would reach his peak. And now I'm thinking he's blowing through that. I mean, this year he's a no doubt all-star. I mean, that's why he was named a reserve.
Right.
I mean, you talk to the players like we do to Michael, they say, wait, forget about all-star. This is an all-NBA type player.
That's the award at the end of the season.
When, you talk about why this team is different, they've still dealt with the injuries. DeMichael mentioned 21 games without Ja Morant. Dez has missed a bunch. Despite Jaren's injury coming out of training camp, Jaren hasn't missed a game. So he's been the one guy and the one constant that, look, I put my hand up, you guys need something, whatever it is,
right,
I'm going to deliver. And he's taken that on, and he's also becoming a big voice and leader off the court. He talked about that after that big win over Milwaukee. He talked about it. They asked him about it on national TV, and he's like, man, I had that at Michigan State. Maybe didn't need to do as much the last few years, but they need him now. I'm talking about he's the one guy this year. Wherever Memphis goes, it's going to be because of Tripp, because he's just having that kind of season. And I hope he just has a blow-up in San Francisco next weekend, because the guy deserves it. And I still think too many people don't know how good 13 is in that Memphis Grizzly uniform.
And they also don't know how good his personality is.
He's
too,
just
there's
awesome.
So many things that he does off the court that are great. And Michael Wallace up there in Canada, the great Michael Wallace, I should say, in the Great White North. You have been around Jaren Jackson Jr., and you've seen him grow as a professional. And but he's not the only one. There's a lot of players on this team that are taking that next step toward the Grizzlies' success this year.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is a collective approach, but it's led, as you guys have said, by Jaren Jackson Jr. And we'll talk about him a lot more a little bit later in this segment right here. But the bottom line is that, this is a guy that's coming into his own. The Grizzlies have won 9 out of 10. Just when it looked like they were taking a little bit of a dip, and that New York loss was a bit of a humbling, and it showed them how much more work they had to do. What did they do? They came right back and reeled off some wins against some quality opponents in Houston, Milwaukee, obviously, and then they beat San Antonio. And they're coming up here against this Toronto Raptors team that recently, over the last 2 weeks, has been one of the hotter teams in the league as well, too. So, this is a good time for the Grizzlies. And then you just can't have this be a trap game, so to speak, because we all know what's looming on Saturday with that showdown in number 1 versus number 2 in the West against Oklahoma City.
Oklahoma City, SGA and the gang coming in from about 480 miles to the west of Memphis. They will be here for that big game. But, of course, they got the Raptors in Toronto tonight, our next up game. And the Raptors have come in the week. Look at this. They were, they had to get really great just to suck, now. But, I mean, look at what they've done. They entered the week having won 8 of their last 10, and they've knocked off some named teams during that stretch. They faced the Grizzlies on the second night of a back-to-back, though. They hosted the Knicks on Tuesday, and, of course, we know what happened with the Grizzlies when they went to New York, but when they went to Toronto, did that New York, the Knickerbocker team, they got roasted by the Raptors. And the Grizzlies, they won that first meeting, and it just was an absolute offensive showcase, 155 to 126. That was back on the day after Christmas, and they have split the last 10 matchups. So no matter what, what kind of shape this Raptors team has been in, whether they've been really good or really bad, they have played fairly well against the Grizzlies, DeMichael Cole.
Yeah, they split the last 10 matchups, and then if you go to the all-time series between these teams, it's 29-28 Raptors. So that sounds like the Grizzlies are due to tie it, right? But this is going to be an interesting matchup. I think catching the Raptors on the second leg of a back-to-back is something that could work in the Grizzlies' favor because of the fact that a big thing that has kind of worked in the Raptors' favor in that 10-game stretch that you just mentioned is they're starting to get some of their guys back.
Right.
Scotty Barnes has missed a lot of times this year. R.J. Barrett has been in and out of the lineup as of late. Emmanuel Quickley has pretty much missed most of the season. But since they're on the second leg of a back-to-back, and with those injury things, Emmanuel Quickly is going to be out for this game. I think R.J. Barrett's going to be out as well. They have a couple other guys. Grady Dick has been huge for them this season. They have a couple other players. Chris Boucher, who's been a trade, been the target of trade talks. But at the end of the day, the Grizzlies have the depth, and they have a lot of guys who potentially could be back, and that would definitely make a difference for them.
And what we saw, Mike Sadie from News Channel 3 in that last game, the first game against the Raptors, that the Grizzlies had that offensive explosion, and it wasn't just John Morant or Tripp. It was everybody really got into the act. We saw a huge game off the bench from Santi Aldama. Zach Edey really came up and played strong, and Jake LaRavia all over the court and with his play. So, and as the Grizzlies get healthier, we could see another offensive explosion like we saw in that first matchup.
Yeah, the injury bug has been something with this team. They've been able to play through it, but the ability of getting Vince Williams back tonight and Marcus Smart back tonight.
Yeah, they're
those
both
guys,
listed. Yeah,
they're
we'll
both
talk
listed
about
as questionable. And with this team, questionable usually means you play.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show.
But the fact that this team is getting it done, and I think you're starting to see a little tweak in the way the NBA is played these days. For the last few years, it's been about the big two or the big three. Mm-hmm. If you can get three good guys, make a run. Yep. The Grizzlies are showing the value of depth, that when you can play 10 or 11 guys and play this new offense, this offensive style demands that you play more guys. Yeah. And it seems like they found the right group of guys, and they just come at you in waves. And you want to get Ja and Dez and Jaren there when it's money time and things like that. But when throughout 48 minutes you can roll out these guys off the bench, one of, if not the best bench team in the NBA, and it just makes it so hard on people. Not only all the number of guys you're rolling out there, but then, hey, which guy's going off today? Is it Ja? Is it Jaren?
Right.
Is it Dez? Is it Gigi like he had the other night? I mean, it's just a great problem to have, and the Grizzlies seem to be pushing all the right buttons right now, and hopefully the health thing is now going to turn the corner as well.
Speaking of health, up there in Toronto, Michael Wallace, you've had a chance to sit down with some of the players, including one of the guys who just got healthy after missing, 4 months, the first 2.5 months of the season, and get back out and show what he can do. Michael Wallace, you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it was, Sadie just talked about who's gonna be the guy off the bench doing some big things. DeMichael talked about the depth, and right now the Grizzlies are starting to figure out just how powerful they are. It took 50 games or whatever for them to get to this point, but now they're at the stage where they're like, okay, when we want to play, this is what we're capable of doing. And now you're getting some reinforcements. Obviously, the Des Bane situation we'll see how long he's out. But one guy that recently came back, and he talked to us after that game on Monday against the San Antonio Spurs, was G.G. Jackson, who had a season-high 27 points. He scored in double figures 3 times this season in his games back, and just trying to find that comfort zone with his new teammates, with that energy and that joy. And here's what Gigi told us after Monday's win over the Spurs.
I'll say it's different playing with a megastar on the team, and he definitely has I don't know what it's called, but, he finds a way to pull all of us together. With our enforcer down there, Jaren, they have an amazing dynamic, and, as extrovert guys, we just feed off of that energy.
To have a game like that, after you kind of worked your way back slowly, just kind of progressed along the way, how good did that feel?
Felt amazing. All glory goes to God. Been putting in the work with the rehab, with Bronco and everything, and had this great support cast around me. After that first line, like you really want to. You weren't gonna miss the second one. I tried to blame it on Santi, but I was like, Santi was coming on this side, but he was coming from the baseline. Just little nerves I had to shake off. The SE connection, we will get that long. What's this been like for you as you kind of work your way back, kind of to have this performance, come out to these 20? Really my first injury ever that took me away from the sport, so definitely a lot of mental lapses, a lot of mental battles. But when God is number one, you can direct your path. And with my father is being a pastor, he has a good way with words, so he always finds a way to get me back in the happy.
Did you ever thought about whether you should pull off the windmill in the last 30 seconds, or you go for it away?
When Scotty got the standing ovation for the steal, I was going to do it then if he had got it and threw it up. But I don't know. I was like, I can't keep doing the two hands and stuff. They be putting Ja on the highlights and stuff. Maybe next year they can put that on the when they call the starting lineup. They put that on the video. Yeah.
You're not a rookie anymore, but they're still giving you a hard time.
Yeah, definitely. This comes with being the youngest on the team. Even Jalen sometimes, you know, when I ask him to do something, so he'll look at me and I'm like, bro, don't do that. I'm in the second year. Man. But I still love being the youngest, though.
There's something infectious about GG Jackson. You just have to, I mean, from the smile and the dimple, you know, but, you know, he's beyond his years in terms of what he can do on the court. And now as his, you know, he's just 20 years old. He just turned 20 just, what, a month ago?
Yeah, December.
December, wow. We're in February now. Season's going fast. But, you know, the way that he is growing up before our eyes, like, you know, we've seen a lot of the guys, you know, this team is like 25, basically. Marcus Smart's on the high end at 30. Everybody else is at 25. And this dude just turned 20. And, you know, he is that wild card that, you know, you look and see that, wow, you know, what they got with this kid is something.
Yeah, I think what stands out when we talk about GG Jackson is he adds an element that this team needs. Mm-hmm. When you get into all the trade deadline talk and what can the Grizzlies add to help the team improve, you know, I think when you look at it from a playmaker standpoint, they got a bunch of playmakers. They got a bunch of, you know, quality defenders. Now, do you want more veteran defenders? That's the stuff that people will have to weigh. But you got guys like Marcus Smart, Vince Williams, Jaylen Wells, who've proved in small and bigger sample sizes that they could defend at a high level. Mm-hmm. But when you talk about guys who could just go get you a bucket at any time, Jaren Jackson Jr., he's the only one who grades out as above league average, and he's pretty elite as an isolation scorer. And I like to say, with the eye test with John Morant, the eye test tells us that John Morant can, you know, you can call 12. And
you can call 12 at any point, and he can answer.
Get you a bucket. But you throw those two to the side. When the playoffs get here, the games get muddy. You know, it's not as pretty. It's not as free-flowing. Sometimes you just got to scrap what you're doing and say, look, go get us a bucket. Mm-hmm. And you'll need that other guy. And Desmond Bane in that Minnesota series that they won in 2022
was huge.
He was that guy. In the Warriors series, Jaren was that guy, and they didn't have another person who was that guy. Now you have GG Jackson who can say, okay, I can be that other guy when, you know, if like the Warriors series, if Dez's back is hurt, or if John Morant gets hurt, or just being the guy who's off the bench, right? Those other three guys are starters. To be that bench spark plug. He's the other guy who can go create his own shot at any time. Mm-hmm. Santi can do it in stretches. Scotty can do it in stretches. GG Jackson can do it against anybody.
Right. Mm-hmm. You got to believe that that's what the Grizzlies are looking at. But, you know, just having the ability to have someone like that, and when you look at it, just going forward, this team is only as good as, you know, they say the best teams, the best organizations are only as strong as the weakest link. Well, what's the weakest link on this team? You know, I don't know. You say John Conchar. Well, John Conchar, he's a break glass in case of Murray. He can come in and get you 10 rebounds. You know, get you a couple of deflections. You know, Jake LaRavia coming in, diving on the floor, knocking a loose ball. You have to have all these pieces if you want to be a successful team.
Yeah, I think with this team, it's really the only question is what's going to happen come playoff time. We've seen what they can do in the regular season. We're now, as DeMichael mentioned and Michael mentioned, we're really starting to see when this team is clicking on all cylinders what it can do. I mean, second best in the West, top 4 or 5 record in the NBA. This is an elite team. But when you start 2 rookies, when you got Gigi coming off the injury that he had last year, and really the only basketball that he's played was when the Grizzlies were really struggling last. What's going to happen when the lights get amped up even more? As DeMichael mentioned, when things get muddy, when it's a best of 7, when you're not worrying about playing back-to-backs against different teams, it's about the same team, and you can really scout one team. That's really the only question left for this team. The good part of that is a bunch have already been through the fire. You know, when your big 3 have already been through all of that together. Marcus Smart, you know, he brings all of that experience from his days in Boston. Hasn't worked out here yet, and is he here, you know, this time tomorrow? We don't know. But that's really the only question I have left is when this thing gets gritty. Will this team continue to be able to end a game on top? Because
grind it out.
They have everything and have shown that they can win in a bunch of different ways with a bunch of different guys. Mm-hmm. But playoffs, as we all know, are totally totally different.
Michael Wallace, let's take a look at the standings in the West right now, where the Grizzlies are. The Grizzlies are indeed now in second place. They have leapfrogged the Houston Rockets, the nemesis. Getting that win in the last matchup this year really helped in that regard. The Rockets have lost 3 straight now, and Memphis is ascending. Of course, you got OKC. They're 39-9. They're kind of running away with it. But the Grizzlies at 34-16, sitting pretty good. And then you've got Denver, which is at 31-19. They're still there. They still got players. They're getting healthier, and they still have Nikola Jokic. Michael Wallace, what do you see in the West standings that could possibly say where the Grizzlies might, who they might see in a first-round matchup, possibly?
That's a good point, and I think the standings right now indicate the success that the Grizzlies have had. And we get to see them every single day. So we get to see the warts, we get to see the mistakes, we get to see the impact of the turnovers when they're not playing well, the guys that have been shuttled in and out of the lineups because of injuries, and the searching that Taylor Jenkins and his offense has done time and time again. But when you look at it from a panoramic view and you look at the Western Conference standings, look at where they are. That's exactly where you would say, if they would have told you that the Grizzlies would be right here at 34-16 at 50 games into the season, second in the West, you would take it. And you don't even have to hear anything else from that standpoint. So that right there indicates how much do you do if you're the Grizzlies going into tomorrow's trade deadline? Do you want to tamper or mess around with the chemistry that you have building? Do you want to stand back and stand pat? We'll get into our discussions about that in a bit. But Taylor Jenkins talked about that, where the Grizzlies are right now and the framework of the Western Conference that is going through some changes with some trades all around them. And here's what Taylor Jenkins said about where the Grizzlies are right now and focusing on this team that he has right now.
Yeah, very surprised. Obviously, it happened late at night, but was so focused on the Milwaukee game, didn't really have a lot of time to digest it. And I'm being from Dallas, all my friends are texting me for all the information, and I'm focused on the Bucks tonight, and then I got the Spurs tonight, so really haven't had a lot of time to digest it. But obviously, we'll see, what comes up for the Mavs and the Lakers.
Coach in the back, with those trades, them being in the West, how much more difficult is it going to make it for you guys going forward?
I mean, we'll cross that bridge when we get there. When we play those teams, our focus has to be on us and remain on this. And obviously the Spurs just made a trade for De'Aaron Fox, heck of a player. And all these teams are trying to find ways to better themselves, just like us. We're right now just focused on this group right now, the work that we've been putting in on the court.
All right, put a lot of work on the court. Of course, Taylor Jenkins has really been the glue that's been keeping everything together with even, his new coaching staff and the new offense. But, we touched on this earlier, the panel here, about, what really has been the mainstay of the Grizzlies, and that's Jaren Jackson Jr. Trip has just been awesome. Coming off back-to-back 30-point games for the first time this season. He's 4th player in franchise history to become a 2-time NBA All-Star. He's the only NBA player this season with 90-plus three-pointers made, 70-plus blocks, and 60-plus steals. That's the stocks. They talk blocks and steals. Jaren Jackson Jr. is just getting it done. And, when you look at Tripp, guys, coming in out of Michigan State, he was long and lanky, and was he 6'11" or was he 7 foot? That was a big question, and nobody knew what. And he came from the previous administration. That was a Chris Wallace pick. They said if you like him, pick him. So he liked him, and has he really matured and grown into the. He's more, as Mike Sadie, you said earlier, than what the Grizzlies could have even hoped that he would be.
Man, I'm always into just the art and just the nuance of basketball. Like, I love that stuff. And with Jaren, when you can see the year-to-year progression of a player visibly to the degree that we've seen it with Jaren, like it's a cool thing to see. You go back, you talk about earlier in his career when he was kind of a different type of player. It was more pick and pop, a lot of three-pointers, face up, more face up. Now he's posting guys up. He's stronger than he's ever been. He's physical, and he's scoring all type of ways. It's left hand, it's right hand. He's been dominant.
I think we got sound from Jaren you can hear right now, and he is owning up to his own mastery of the game. Jaren.
Jaren Jackson Jr. is an all-star.
Jaren with a block, a walk-up 3. Got it! Jaren crosses over on Sard.
He has been the man.
3 seconds on the shot clock. Jaren, turnaround, fade.
Wow. Jaren Jackson Jr. is playing at an extremely high level.
He continues to dominate whoever he's defended by.
They don't got no answer for you. If you are small, he's going to overpower you. all the bigs are too slow to stay in front of him.
Step back, yes sir!
He was just a man amongst boys on the floor.
Certainly worthy of an all-star berth.
Question about that, indeed. And Jaren Jackson Jr., Michael Sadie, you see him when he drops that shoulder into you now, it's not a 18, 19-year-old kid doing that. That's a 25-year-old man getting that bump there. He took on Giannis. He's taken on Wemby, and he knocked him out of the way and got in the bucket.
I'll tell you what, one of the greatest things in watching a player develop, like DeMichael said, we were here when they were drafted out of Michigan State. It's the want to with him, the want to be better. That was the first couple of years. Then the want to be mentioned among better players. Now the want to be an all-star, an all-NBA guy. Here's a guy that got his first contract. Now he's about to get paid again, and all of those situations. When you got a motor like that not settling on just being, pretty good, that's really something sweet to watch. And like you said, all the stuff that he does off the court. And then you look at the other night in back-to-back games, what he did against Giannis and Wemby. I remember when Wemby got off to that hot first quarter the other night. But in that third quarter, Jaren said, it's right through you, big man. And he took it and really got Wemby off his game for a little bit. Because Wemby's not used to – that 7'4" with that wingspan, and no one's going to take it at me. And Jaren's like, all right, I'm
coming at you.
And so that's the kind of thing. He brings his game up against the very best because he has something to prove, and that is I'm one of the very best in this game as well.
And talking about bringing their game up, it looks like now that the Grizzlies are about to become fully healthy. Let's go back to Michael Wallace in Toronto, Canada for the game tonight against the Raptors. And Michael, the injury list came out, and we got 3 names on it as questionable. Brandon Clark, who I think, has earned some time off. He's been playing pretty well lately. But 2 big names that are questionable now, and that's Vince Williams and Marcus Smart. Marcus Smart with that finger injury, have no idea how long that was going to take. We saw Vince Williams get hurt right in front of our eyes with that high ankle sprain. They're both questionable. Do you think they will play tonight in Toronto, Michael Wallace?
That's a great question, Jarvis. I was hoping to see those guys at shoot-around and see what they were able to do from shoot-around standpoint, but the Grizzlies didn't have a shoot-around here in Toronto. They both remain questionable at this point. But when you look at where they're trending and how the injury report is, they were both doubtful on Monday night. They're questionable now, talking about Vince Williams Jr. and Marcus Smart. They're going to go through their workouts and their routines when we start matriculating towards the arena in about another hour or 2. So I'm going to get on one of the early buses to get there to see what they look like on the court leading up to tip-off. And I'm sure Taylor Jenkins is going to say they're a game-time decision. I expect one, if not both, will play tonight, because then you still have another 2-3 days off before Saturday, or 2 days off before Saturday against Oklahoma City. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they have. And then when you talk about where they are, I mean, what will Vince Williams Jr. and Marcus Smart bring back to the Grizzlies? Where you look at how those guys have come into fruition this season. They both have missed a combined 21. They've only played in 21 games this season. Vince has only played in 3, and Marcus has played in 18. So they have to work their way back into it. We'll see what happens. And then again, the trade deadline is less than 24 hours. So we'll see if they still can continue to be a part of this team moving forward. Everything is up in the air right now when it comes to that.
Which brings us to our new segment here on GrizzBeat. The new segment is our 24-second shot clock validation. You got 24 seconds to validate your reason for this or your reason for that. And the question is, should the Grizzlies make a trade with the trade line coming up at 2 p.m. tomorrow, Memphis time? We'll start with DeMichael Cole.
No trade for the Memphis Grizzlies at the trade deadline. I just do not see the move that takes them to the next level. And with that being said, we talked about internal improvement. They have G.G. Jackson, they have Marcus Smart, they have Vince Williams all coming back into the fold. If you want defense, those guys provide that. If you want shooting, Vince Williams can provide that in some of the other pieces. You don't have to make a move unless it's a big move.
All right, got it in as a pure professional right before the shot clock. It's good. Mike Sadie, you're on the clock. What's your reasoning?
Well, I was going to say no, but since DeMichael said no, you can't have the same guys. And the reason to make it is because you're 2 in the West. You don't know. We were 2 a couple of years ago. You just don't know when you're going to have this team playing as well as it is right now. If you can go get that guy, of course, Kevin Durant's out there. There's all the talk about Jimmy Butler, which I don't think is a good fit. Cam Johnson. If you can go get an elite player, you have all of your players, you have all of your picks. Now is the time to jump and get it done.
All right, another seasoned professional. Michael Wallace in Canada, what is your decision? You have 24 seconds. Go.
Well, the Grizzlies don't have to make a trade. They don't have to make a trade. As the guys alluded to already, you have guys coming back. We just saw GG get his way back. Marcus Smart is on the mend. Vince Williams Jr., those guys are basically trade acquisitions anyway. But the reason why I'm still skeptical, Zach Kleiman always makes a move when he has an opportunity to. He has 24 hours. I think they might do something.
In here with the last one. Put the clock on me now. Jarvo says, N to the O, no trade for the Grizzlies. Here's why. As our esteemed colleagues on the panel have said, the Grizzlies have pretty much what they need. They were about to get a couple of additional players in here that could put them over the top just already on the roster. My main reasoning is you've got guys like a GG Jackson, Vince Williams, who are rookies. They're on the rookie deal, and I missed the shot clock myself.
Violation,
the rookie deal, boom. And Jaren Jackson, you got to pay him next year. That's mine.
But the one thing that concerns me if they don't make a trade is, do you want 2 rookie starters in a playoff series that don't know what it means? If you can go get a veteran that maybe moves one of those guys, Jaylen Wells or something, to that rotation off the bench, even though Jaylen has played great all season as a starter, should be rookie of the year. But that's regular season stuff.
Yeah.
When, if you look at the teams that are elite right now, how many of them have one rookie starter, let alone 2 that you would take into the postseason? And I'm glad I didn't have a buzzer come in my. I didn't want to put that into my thinking.
I got buzzed out, man.
Yeah, it's a great team. It's a good problem to have, and Zach Kleiman will have it for the next 24 hours.
That's why he's King Kleiman, which brings us to our next segment. It's a great segment that we just started here recently. It's the mailbag, the Grizzlies mailbag, and our great producer CJ behind the glass, CJ Hurt, is going to put the hurting on us with the mailbag question of the week.
It's time for the Sonic Mailbag. Wait, hold on. Stop the music.
Stop it.
What cup is that right there?
That's a Sonic cup.
Is that a Sonic cup?
It is.
Let's go! Sonic Mailbag question of the week. Mike, you know what's going on, baby. That's your cup.
It is.
Sonic got that good ice. They got a tremendous drink menu. I had mozzarella sticks last night.
Oh, yeah.
If you want to get your question read off, send it in on the Grind City Media app. BLJ, look at that beautiful cup. BLJ's got a question for us, though. I can't wait to hear what the greatest hype man in the NBA has to say. BLJ, over to you.
Early morning session, he's your best hype man in the NBA, BLJ, clanking and banging. Grizzly fans everywhere, come on in. Tell me your name.
My name is Ramey Johnson.
Ramey Johnson, go ahead and ask that question of the week.
Who is your Grizzlies breakout star this year?
Who's the Grizzlies breakout star this year? You already know who's yours.
Mine is Jaylen Wells.
He said Jaylen Wells, go ahead.
He is the best perimeter defender in the league. As a second-round pick, he is awesome.
Oh, he done gave you the background. Mine's Santi. We're back to the studio. We'll see you guys later. Get the deal.
Yes, sir. Go Grizzlies.
Yeah, yes, sir, indeed. Man, that's a smart young man right there, because that's mine too. Jaylen Wells, Sacramento State, Washington State. Boom! In the second-round pick, toward the end of the second round, and he comes out and does what he does. There's no other rookies, in my opinion, this year. He deserves Rookie of the Year, in my opinion, to Michael Cole.
Yeah, I do think that Santi is, for me, the breakout player up to this point. If I could put a little twist on the question here, I ain't closing the door on Vince Williams Jr. yet. You still got a couple months, and I think he could still have that breakout type of impact for this team. But as of right now, I think those 2 guys that you just mentioned headline, the leaders for the race. But Santi has been that pop, as Taylor Jenkins like to say, off the bench that the Grizzlies have been looking for.
Yeah, Jaylen Wells, easy pick. The situation where he's going to be Rookie of the Year. But if I'm looking at a guy that's trending as an important part of this team, it's Luke Kennard, because at the beginning of the year, we didn't even know if he was going to make it to the trade deadline. Right. He was being shown the door, and now with the injuries to Ja, some struggles from Scottie Pippen, here comes Luke Kennard as your point guard, and as DeMichael mentioned,
solid
8 assists and whatever. But with this team's best perimeter shooter, when you did he's the best three-point shooter in the NBA.
Correct.
That is something that this team has struggled with for years. To have that in your back pocket as a guy that's has some playoff experience, he knows what's coming. And he knows what his game is. And he's kind of changed it a little bit now with the assists and asked to do more.
Oh, he's not just to stand out there and shoot the ball.
Right.
He's putting it off. He's shooting off the dribble. He's getting to the rack. He's looking like what you want him to look like. And, I already said mine. Let's go to the Great White North and Michael Wallace in Toronto. You can close out this segment. What do you think?
Hey, I love all the answers that you guys just gave, and I'm going to give a different one. Zach Edey, last game, 16 and 14 in a plus 25 when they discovered the joys of the Zach Edey, Ja Morant pick and roll, run it again, and run it a third time. If Zach Edey can get that kind of minutes and that kind of production playing with Ja Morant, and they both can stay on the court, Zach Edey will be the second half breakout player for the Grizzlies.
I love that. We got 4 guys and 4 different answers, and it's going to be
They're all good.
They're all good. So it
good
looks
problem
good.
to have.
Looks for the Grizz. When we come back on GrizzBeat, we're going to take you around the NBA with the trade line deadline coming tomorrow, 2 p.m. Already some moves, a whole bunch of moves made. We'll talk about that when we come back on GrizzBeat.
Let's face it, there's a lot of trash talk in basketball, but the great teams let their performance do the talking. Like Ford F-150 with Pro Power on board, a class-exclusive industry-first feature that turns your truck into a mobile generator and leaves the competition speechless. Ford F-150, official truck of the Grizzlies. Greatness starts here at your Mid-South Ford dealer. Class is full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds, GVWR.
Memphis Cat is back with his Heaven on Earth tour.
I tried to be incognito, but thanks to Shannon Sharp's loud mouth, the gig is up.
February 22nd in the FedEx Forum.
In my spare time, I infiltrate the Illuminati, look for their secrets, run back, tell y'all.
Don't miss this year's most talked about comedy icon live. He's back with brand new material, an unmatched wit, and an electrifying performance. Get tickets at Ticketmaster.com.
When it's all on the line, you turn to the strong, the stable, the unwavering. To those with a history of raising their performance, to meet the moment. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies checking from Pinnacle. Play hard, bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Shinedown. Dance Kid Dance Tour. Live in Memphis. FedEx Forum, Saturday, August 30th. With special guests, Bush and Morgan Wade. Get tickets now at livenation.com. Shinedown, live in concert. For more, visit shinedown.com.
All right, everybody, witness the fallout from the Royal Rumble when WWE Friday Night SmackDown returns to FedEx Forum on February 7th. That's coming up really quickly. Get your tickets. They are on sale now at Ticketmaster.com or the FedEx Forum box office. For full show details, you know what to do. Head to FedExForum.com.
Welcome back to GrizzBeat. We're going to keep the show moving. This is our fast-paced around the league segment of the show. And there's so much going on right now with the NBA because of the NBA trade deadline is less than 24 hours away. Well, we've already seen Luka Doncic go to the Los Angeles Lakers, Anthony Davis come back to the Dallas Mavericks. That's one formidable duo right there. ESPN and the NBA put out a graphic that talked about the most formidable duos right now that we have post-trade deadline or going into the trade deadline. And when you look at those groups right there, guys, Luka and LeBron potentially, AD and Kyrie, what we see right now, and then De'Aaron Fox and Victor Wembanyama. If you're starting your team today, right now, and you had one shot to win an NBA championship this season, which duo are you going with based on what you see from these duos right now post-trade deadline?
So you're talking about just what we see on the screen right now?
Those three duos.
To win the title or long term?
No. Right now. Don't project way out. We're talking about right now. If you had to take one of those duos right now to go get it done the rest of the season, which duo are you going with? All things
Michael
considered.
Yeah, I'm going Luka and LeBron. Two guys, really good closers, playoff experience, both been there to the finals. Both have recently, kind of had success in the Western Conference. I'm going Luka and LeBron.
Yeah, and if I looked at it, I would have to say Luka and LeBron too, because I think, I like Anthony Davis and I like Kyrie Irving. Do they have enough around them to get it done? Derek Lively's out, I believe, right?
Yep, he's out right now.
Yeah, he's out, and I don't know what it's going to be like if or when he comes back. And De'Aaron Fox and Wemby just too young yet. They don't have the scar tissue yet. But you got an All NBA guy, even if he's 280 pounds, and Luka Doncic and LeBron James, who is LeBron James. So it's. I would have to go with that based on the three choices that we had. Mike said
again, all three of those teams have some work to do in terms of the standings. The Lakers a little higher up, so easily you can look at Luka and LeBron as the twosome to take. Do not pass on Anthony Davis. When you heard his reaction to the move, where he was stunned, he was watching a movie with his wife and got the phone call. You put him with a Kyrie Irving that can light it up. I think Dallas does have some pieces around them. When I don't know, AD making the move and you got an upset AD, every Grizzly fan knows that we don't want to see AD no matter what uniform he's in. Luka and LeBron are the way to go because they are just the best of the best, but watch out for that Dallas team. Even though Dallas and San Antonio, they're both out of the play-in right now, so they have more work to do than the Lakers. It's a fun conversation to have, but they left a duo up there with Ja and Jaren.
Yeah, man, what happened to that?
Right? I'm just kidding.
What do you say, great Michael Wallace?
Well, I understand, why there's the immediate, love for Luka and LeBron. I don't trust Luka Doncic's health right now. I just don't. And with their style and their system, LeBron needs the ball, and Luka is not great off the ball. Luka needs the ball, right? And LeBron, is he really great off the ball in this situation? We have never seen that. I think that there's going to be a chemistry experiment, and, it's not going to – I don't think it's going to go as well as most people are just assuming it's going to go. Give me all day the Kyrie Irving and the unibrow, man. I love that dynamic. I love their balance. Anthony Davis was already producing at an all NBA level. Kyrie Irving should have been an all-star when you talk about what his level of production has been. I think that team is motivated. They got the defensive pieces around them. PJ Washington is right there ready to go. Even though Lively's out, they still have Gafford. Lively's going to come back. That team is going to be a headache for this coming year. So give me that group right there. Now, we see there's still more moves to be made with the NBA trade deadline coming up tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central. Now you're talking about guys that were left off. And I wanted to ask you guys this. Who was the bigger snub from the All-Star Reserve selection? Domantas Sabonis in the West, Trae Young in the East, or is there someone else who's missing from that list who's a bigger snub than either one of those two guys? Jarvis, I'll start with you.
All right, I want to go with Domantas Sabonis because if you look at his number, 20 and 14, and his shooting percentage is just incredible, and you cannot keep that guy off the boards. He gets his team second chance points, second chance opportunity. Yes, Trae Young is great. Yes, Trae Young can shoot from distance, and he's really just, he's dealing all over the court with his assists. What is he, around 14 or something like that? Which is incredible, but I just think, and for my money, I think it's Domantas Sabonis, DeMichael Cole.
Yeah, it was Trae Young for me. When I was doing my ballot, I even debated putting him as a starter. Mm-hmm. I'm the guys who elevate those teams in the middle of the pack, they just get bonus points for me. And he is a guy who did that with the Hawks. I mean, a couple weeks ago, they were just a couple games out of the 4th spot, in the East, and they've kind of, fallen off since then. But Jalen Johnson's injury has a lot to do with that. But his playmaking ability is special. I mean, it's almost overlooked because season after season, he's chalking up 11, 12 assists a game. And, it is what it is. But I think, his ability to elevate that Atlanta team, they're the defensive issues, and I'm sure that kind of plays into, how he's viewed and whatnot. But I think he did, at least going into the voting point towards the end of January, he did a really good job of elevating that team.
And I'll go with Jarvis. Debonis Sabonis, it's one of those guys, very Zebo-like when I see his game. And he just does the dirty work, and a guy that loves to live in the paint, at the rim, getting opportunities for his teammates that with hockey assists, he doesn't get the assists, but he sets those things up. And I just really love his game because he's a no-nonsense guy. He's not very often outside the line, behind the three-point line. He knows that he's 6 to 8 feet around the rim. That's where I'm going to make my living. And you're just in the Western Conference. There's so many good bigs.
Right.
And if you take Sabonis, who's left off? You can't leave Jaren Jackson Jr. off. So you're in that kind of battle with that. And I know that Trey has that same situation in the East with the guard play in the Eastern Conference. I just love Sabonis' game. Every time he comes here, I'm like, man, it's going to be a long night for our bigs. Because he just bangs away and does whatever he needs to do. It's just with the way the All-Star game is and the tweaks that were done this year with the 4 or the 3 8-man teams, maybe add a couple of spots, but then does it get watered down? There's always going to be guys left off. I like Sabonis' game a lot, though.
Michael Wallace, what do you like?
I say this, politically, listen, just expand the rosters to 15. 15 from the East, 15 from the West, and we get rid of, some of these guys that deservedly should be there. I 100% agree. Sabonis is an all-star. This guy's been all-NBA, and he can't be an all-star. That doesn't make sense. Sabonis is the one guy who gives headaches to any other big that has made the all-star game, including Jaren Jackson Jr. He put that work on Jaren when they were in Sacramento a couple of weeks back. And he's done that to not only he's done it to Şengün, he's done it to Jaren, he's done it to AD, he's done it to all of these frontline guys. Sabonis puts up numbers, and they're not empty calorie numbers either. And one other thing too, my other snub has got to be LaMelo Ball, because the thing about it is this guy got the most votes among all Eastern Conference guards. The NBA, publishes this and pushes all of these vote 3 times, vote 7 times. This guy got the votes. The people want to see him, and he doesn't even make the All-Star game after leading the East in votes. They got to look at this system again and figure out how to make that thing work. But again, the easiest solution, expand the rosters to 15, 3 more spots in each conference, and I think we clear up a lot of the issues that we've seen from that standpoint. 2 guys that are going to be in San Francisco, 2 rookies are going to be in San Francisco for the Memphis Grizzlies representing the Rising Stars, and that's going to be obviously Zach Edey and Jaylen Wells. What we also found out the other day is that those 2 guys are now going to be teammates in San Francisco as well. They're going to be on the Team Chris of the Run TMC trio that played in Golden State all those years ago. So you see right now that Jaylen Wells and Zach Edey are going to join Stephon Castle, Ryan Dunn, Keontae George, Trace Jackson Davis, and Dalton Knecht. Give me Team Chris, because I think that team is not going to be stopped in the Rising Stars Challenge. What do you guys think of the team makeup right there? We'll start with you, Jarvis.
Well, I love the fact that you got Zach Edey and Jaylen Wells on the same team, so they won't have to be going at each other. Jaylen Wells said, well, if Zach's on the other team, I'm coming at him. I'm coming at his head. But you'd have to get him some elevator shoes to do that, and the way Zach has been playing, though, lately. But I'm looking at this. I love Stephon Castle from the Spurs. I think he's just a great player, and they get to join him on Team Chris. And then Knecht has been playing better lately in Los Angeles. They got some good guys on there. And looking at the rest of them, you got to watch out for Scoot Henderson on Team and Misi on Team Mitch. The other 2 teams, I think it's between Team Chris and Team Mitch. I'm taking Team Chris to Michael Cole.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I think there's a clear talent gap between Team Mitch, Team Chris, and the rest of the field here. When you think about all-star competitions, for me, it's the flash plays that matter. So I'm looking at these rosters. I'm saying who's got the players that can be the microwave players, because that's how you win. Someone makes 4 3-pointers or whatever the case may be, and who's got the guys who can get to the rim and dunk, because in an all-star setting, I think this will be more competitive. But a lot of times when guys are getting downhill, these guys are saying this is an all-star game, and I'm not about to get in front of him and play defense all out. And you look at Team Mitch, Amen Thompson, Azar Thompson, the Thompson twins. Yeah. They are those athletes. Scoot Henderson has that explosiveness. they don't have the same shooting as Team Chris.
Right.
Team Chris doesn't have the same explosiveness, so to speak, that Team Mitch has. But if you look at Team Chris, Ryan Dunn has been surprisingly a decent three-point shooter. We know Keontae George, Jaylen Wells, we know what they can do from the three-point line. And, of course, Dalton Connett, he can light it up quick, fast, and in a hurry. And Jaylen Wells and Dalton Connett, those two both can light it up quick, fast, and in a hurry. Stephon Castle has some of that explosiveness as well. Zach Edey, Yeez Misi, that'll be a fun battle. I'm looking at Team Chris having the slight edge because three's more than two. It's a math game.
Right.
But the other two teams, it'd be really surprising. I mean, Team Jeremy might be a little sleeper. You know, they got some nice little G League talent over there. And Reed Shepherd hasn't played much in Houston, but we know what he's capable of.
You know, the situation is you talk about exciting players and an all-star games. Look, do you guys watch Stephon Castle here the other night?
Yeah.
He's now in the dunk contest.
Yes.
He put a couple of those up the other night.
He put a mean one on.
The kid from UConn, I mean, it's just he's been playing so well. Now, you put him with Zach, you put him with Jaylen Wells, Dalton Connect, all of these guys. When this came out yesterday, I said, they really drafted this? That's like my fantasy draft. That's why I finished last, and guys finished. I mean, the drafting of this team right here, it looks like, you're right, Team is a pretty good team, but I'm going with Team Chris all the way. And the way that – I didn't know if I liked the way that they're doing the All-Star weekend this year, but now, you know, the team that wins the All-Star, the Rising Stars game puts a team into the main draw on Sunday. So you got our two Grizzlies on one team here who may be able to move on and play Jaren Jackson Jr. on Sunday for the chance to be All-Star champions. That would be great for Memphis to see. You know, we were wondering if we were going to get one. Things go right on Friday night. We could have three on Sunday.
Yeah, purely selfish reasons would like to see that. Michael Wallace, you end it. What do you think?
Hey, yeah, that's a perfect scenario right there, Sadie. And you talk about having three guys in the Sunday showcase representing one team in Memphis and what they've done going into the All-Star break, you know, likely still holding on to the number 2 spot in the West. The sky's the limit for this team, man. And when you look at where the Grizzlies are right now in my GrizzBeat power poll, you look at those guys, that's one of the teams that is climbing up the chart right now, but it's still top by Oklahoma City. Oklahoma City has been, you know, coast to coast, the best team in the NBA over the last 3 or 4 months. Cleveland lost to Boston for the second time. So Boston jumps back up to number 2 in my power poll this week, and then Cleveland rounds out number 3. The New York Knicks are ahead of the Memphis Grizzlies because they absolutely destroyed the Grizzlies in New York. We'll see what happens when these teams meet for a second time. Houston has been on a bit of a dip because of the injuries right now. Van Vliet is out. We'll see how long that impacts those guys. So Houston might be heading in the wrong direction pretty fast. Denver is one of the more stabilizing teams right now. They've won several in a row right now, and they're turning a corner quickly. The Los Angeles Lakers, man, they absolutely destroyed the Clippers last night. Look really, really good doing so as well, too. We'll see how long they can keep that momentum going. Indiana is rolling right now, and the Clippers round out the top 10. So that's the GrizzBeat power poll as it stands right now. We'll see where it goes in the next couple of weeks as we get to the All-Star break. When we come back, we got one more segment left, and it's about one of the Hall of Famers going up into the Raptors, and who would we want to go up into the rafters with if we can make a choice like that for our individual careers. When we come back to GrizzBeat.
Can't wait. It's time to get it popping. It's going to be crazy. The fans are going to be loud. We need just energy.
Behind the back to Jaren for the flush.
We're going to need, the form rocking. We're going to need, everybody in Memphis to be out there to come to support.
When the fans are good, we're good. Simple as that.
A Bane 3, yes sir! Desmond Bane with ice water in his veins.
We'll ride the energy together.
Kroger shoppers and Grizz fans, one exclusive last-minute discounted ticket deals texted straight to you during the Grizzlies 2024-2025 season. Sign up with the new Kroger Buzzer Beater deal. Fans can sign up by texting Grizz to 636-479 or visit your local Kroger store in the Delta Division and scan the QR code. By signing up, you agree to receive recurring automated promotional and personalized marketing text messages from the Memphis Grizzlies. Consent is not a condition of any purchase. Message frequency varies. Message and data rates may apply.
There's no substitute for experience, the knowledge gained from having been there before, and the passion to share what you know to make everyone around you better. It's true in basketball. It's true in banking. Grizzlies checking from Pinnacle. Play hard. Bank easy. Open a Grizzlies checking account with at least $100 and a recurring direct deposit by August 31st, and you could receive a $200 direct deposit bonus into your account. Details at grizzliesbanking.com. Member FDIC.
Thanks for showing up, Memphis. Nothing beats catching your Grizzlies IRL, and nobody knows that better than you. So next time you want to hit up a game, Ticketmaster's got your back with tickets to every upcoming matchup. Whether you're catching the Grizzlies at home or on the road, you'll find tickets at Ticketmaster, the official ticket marketplace of the Memphis Grizzlies and the NBA. Keep putting that jersey collection to use and get Grizzlies tickets today. There's no better brag than saying you saw it live. See you courtside again soon, Memphis.
Hey Grizz fam, 191 Collabs presented by Hennessy brings Grizz Nation hyper-local Grizz gear from local designers. The next collab that's coming up, a homecoming for Memphis native and mega music producer Tay Keith and his record label Dramatize. Yeah, the collection brings a vintage NBA aesthetic to Grizzlies' grit and grind culture. Shop it on its new date that's coming up Saturday, February 8th, when the Grizzlies take on the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's coming up 7 o'clock here at FedEx Forum. Now, these limited edition threads only available in the Forum on game night. So buy your tickets today for access or visit grizzlies.com/191collabs for more information. Yeah, man, that's a good looking short set there. I might have to jump in that myself. All right, coming up the week ahead for the Grizzlies after the game tonight in Toronto. Take a look and see what the Grizzlies have coming. Of course, the big game Saturday right here at FedEx Forum. The Oklahoma City Thunder, the leading team in the Western Conference, 39 and well, they got a great record, 39-9 coming in here. Phoenix Suns on the road on Tuesday, and then it's at the LA Clippers as the Grizz go way out west. They'll meet the Clippers, who have the Claw back, and you know who the Claw is. Oh my goodness, yeah. He is back healthy, and it looks like he's ready to go. Kawhi Leonard. All right, now we had another Raptor raising for Vince Carter, of course, the former Grizzly who played a couple of years here in Memphis, and that was something. Wow, Vince Carter played for the Grizzlies, yeah. Well, you know, he had his jersey retired with the Raptors, his original team. He also had his jersey retired with the New Jersey Nets, and here's a little bit of that.
Not a lot of guys get to have their number go up next to their idol. What does that mean to you?
Everything. Everything. I have so much respect for Doc. Tracy was easy call for Hall of Fame. And when I asked him, his response was, "Man, I was waiting for you." So he was like, he was already ready. But Dr. J was kind of like, "I'm gonna make the call." And he didn't answer the first time. And I left a message. It was like, "Hey, Doc, I want to run some things by you. Give me a call back." Weeks go by. I hear nothing from Dr. J. And I received that phone call from him, and he was like, "Oh man, I would love it. I would love it. You know, sorry." And that means so much. And I think I keep saying about like I'm so darn emotional these days. It pisses me off. But I have a great appreciation for what the Hall of Fame means. And not many guys get that opportunity. I have a great appreciation for being honored, having your jersey retired, because not a lot of guys get that opportunity to do it. I don't take it for granted. And for somebody as iconic as Dr. J, was my hero, call me. I was like, heck yeah, I'll do it. And then I was just like so thankful, and then like I'm truly honored, period. Like, you said yes, and now I get to go up beside you. God, it's crazy.
Is that amazing or what? Dr. J, you get to have your jersey hanging in the rafters next to Doc. You talk about icons of the small forward. You know, if God could make a small forward, Julius Erving, Vince Carter. I mean, goodness gracious, to have his jersey retired next to the Doctor is really something. So the question now is, if you could have a jersey retired next to the all-time great, one of your favorites, who would that be? We'll start with DeMichael Cole.
Yeah, are we talking in our profession?
In your profession,
In
yes.
our profession. Well, you know, Jarvo, you would be a great one.
Present
But,
company, I was supposed to go
present
first.
company excluded. Come on.
I'll exclude the present company.
There you go.
As Jarvo said, but I'm still gonna keep it in the 901 though. I got to keep it at the crib, and for me, it would be Ralph Wiley. Who I think passed away about 20 years ago now. But Ralph Wiley was someone who I found out about, you know, as I started to, you know, really get into the weeds of sport journalism and stuff. And I remember, you know, growing up, everyone said, Stephen A. Smith and all these other names. But then there was one guy who, a Memphian, said, you know, you could be the next Ralph Wiley. And I was like, oh, let me I haven't heard that name too much. And I started reading the columns, the literary work, and his ability to connect race with sports is an inspiration. And in being from Memphis and, you know, how he touched so many lives through that work, you know, that would be great. That would be an honor.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, Mike Sadie.
I'm gonna have to do it a little bit differently because, you know, growing up in South Florida, you know, we didn't have those icons of your teams. You know, you went to watch them, but mostly it was on TV and things like that. And then I was lucky enough to work in some markets. And again, Jarvis, you know, when you work with compete against people that you look up to, and then we've been friends a long time.
Right,
That's great too.
Appreciate it.
But my job allows us to put us in the company of great athletes in different sports. So Tony Allen in a couple of weeks will have his jersey put up here at FedEx Forum. And for my love of Zebo and my love of Big Spain and my love of Tony Allen, everybody knows that. But anybody that knows me knows that the single best athlete of the thousands that I've had the opportunity to cover is Mike Conley. And I can't wait for that day because of just what he meant to this city when he got here, everything he went through, and then everything he's done since he's been here. So it's less about those in our profession that have elevated me, because there's so many. But if there's one guy whose jersey retirement, for all of the reasons, it's Mike Conley, because it's just he is the single greatest athlete in terms of how easy he made my job, but also how much fun it was to watch a young man from Ohio State come and become a Memphian that people love to this day, even when he was in here with the Timberwolves and things like that. So it's one of those days that if you ask my family, my kids, my friends, they're, you know, why are you talking about Mike Conley? He's not a Grizz anymore. He'll always be a Grizzly.
Always
Core 4 legend. Can't walk this town without people loving him. I'm still waiting on that statue with the 4 of them, but I can't wait to see Mike Conley's jersey in the Forum. You know, whenever he decides that it's time to step away from the game, but that's what I'll say.
That's going to be a beautiful night. Should I go next, or Michael Wallace, you want to take it?
No, I'll take it. I'll take it. We'll leave you with the last word, Jarvis. But you know what? I get a chance every Wednesday at 2:00 to work alongside a guy that we all looked up to and a guy that we look beside now, and that's Jarvis Greer. I remember when we first conceptualized GrizzBeat and the idea of, okay, who would you want to come in and be the voice of the fan and also has the professionalism to carry it and make it right? It was a no-brainer, man. And I'm still fortunate every single week that I get a chance to work with you on this show. So that's that. And you said present company excluded, so I'm going to respect your wishes on that one. My guy, man, if I ever have a chance to have anything honored in my name for what the legacy of my journalism career would be, it would be going on alongside my brother, Mark Spears, man. You know, we came into the industry not too long after one another. We took some critical blows and learning lessons in our careers along the way. We both had job transitions and family transitions and lost loved ones. And every single time, you know, he's one of the first persons that call me when I go through something. And I'm one of the first people that reach out to him when he goes through something as well. So to see Mark Spears go into the Kurt Gowdy Award in the Pro Basketball Hall of Fame, man, that's big time. And if I ever get a chance to do anything anywhere remotely near that, I definitely want my guy Mark Spears to be right there with me.
That's fantastic. Oh, by the way, the check is in the mail for you. It's in Canadian dollars, by the way. So I appreciate your shout out. But you know, we'll take care of you. My person that would go into the rafters, it would have to be my mentor, the great Jack Eaton, who is in the great press box in the sky. Some of you younger ones are not familiar with Jack Eaton's work, but he was the one that convinced me to become a Memphis Tiger. He was the voice of the Tigers for 35 years. He was the sports director at Action News 5 for that length of time. And and just his whole persona coming out. You know, the referees are communists, and everybody. You talk about Memphis versus everybody. Yeah. Jack Eaton was the embodiment of that, and he always told me, Jarbo, my lad. He was the first one to call me Jarbo, by the way. Jarbo, my lad, whatever you do, just leave no secrets to your audience. You know, just tell the truth and be yourself. If you want to go out and have fun. And that's been my whole mantra. So the great Jack Eaton, I look to you there in the sky, and that would be my choice if I had a chance to go up next to that. And with that said, all great choices all the way around. We want to thank, of course, the great Michael Wallace up there in Toronto. You'll be on the call tonight, Michael Wallace in Toronto?
Absolutely. Eric Hasseltine, myself will be on the call. We'll start flowing in our game night content pretty shortly here, giving you all the updates and all the latest on the injury report, who's available, who's not, and what the Grizzlies need to do to keep this ball rolling as they roll towards the All-Star break.
And who's still here, because the trade deadline's coming up. We appreciate that, Michael Wallace. To Michael Cole from the Commercial Appeal, beat writer, appreciate you being in the studio. And, of course, Mike Sadie from News Channel 3. How long you been at News Channel 3 now, Mike?
27 years.
27 years.
Which is only about half the time you spent at
just about. Just about. You're working on it. He's a young whippersnapper.
So I'm still climbing. I'm still
climbing.
climbing.
To get the towel. I have wet behind you. But no, we appreciate you all being here. CJ behind the glass, man, that mailbag. I love it, buddy. I love it. And, of course, we will see you here next week. A lot more Grizz basketball to talk about right here on GrizzBeat. We'll see you back next Wednesday at 2 o'clock. See you then.
That's game. Thanks for running with us for another episode of GrizzBeat. Join us each Wednesday at Grind City Media for all the latest insight and analysis on the Grizzlies.